Of the United Nations in the world. It comes from the League of Gentlemen. I think the League of Gentlemen were responsible for the First World War, and the United Nations were responsible for the Second World War. I think that's what these organisations do, the League of Gentlemen and the United Nations. It was the League of Gentlemen during the First World War, and now it's the United Nations following the Second World War. So I think that these organisations are one of the most important organisations in the world and in world history. Why are they important? Because they create world wars. That's what these organisations do. It's the United Nations. Their responsibility is to create world wars. It was the League of Nations that created the First World War, and it was the United Nations that created the Second World War. And this is obviously very important because the world doesn't need world wars. It's happy without world wars. It does quite well without world wars. It has very good economic conditions. It has reasonable prosperity, quite good prosperity as well. It has a lot of agriculture. It has decent accommodation, quite nice accommodation. It has adequate clothing, and it has plentiful food. But for some reason, we do have the League of Gentlemen in the world, and we do have the United Nations in the world, and their preoccupation and determination is to create and sustain world wars. I think Europe is very distinctive in world history in that rather than holding European wars for its own benefit, it seems to insist on a world war within Europe for the world. So it's a world war occurring in Europe for the world, for the benefit of the world. So I think that is very concerning. I think if we got rid of the United Nations and the League of Nations, then we could have a safer, peaceful world, and that's very good. It's very good. It stops genocide. It stops world wars. It could reduce it to maybe a few isolated local wars or regional wars. It stops terrorism. I think it stops colonialism as well. So I think that we do have an issue where there's not just been one world war, the First World War. We have Adolf Hitler, who stated we need further world wars. That's what he did. He said we need more world wars. So we had the Second World War, and now we're likely to have 5 more. So we're likely to have 7 world wars and maybe more. And these are pretty much European wars, but they're called world wars, and that's very unusual. So I think that is very significant. Europe seems to be dictating its confidence in the world. That's what Europe is doing. It's dictating its confidence in the world. It's stating that we're European, we're more advanced. Why is it more advanced? Because they have the Enlightenment and the Renaissance. What is the Renaissance? It's a collection of paintings that epitomise the vision of the world, but it's quite a basic standard. What is the Enlightenment? It's a collection of thoughts and Persian philosophy that kind of understand the world and how it is. So I think that's what Europe has done, contributed to the world. I think that's what it likes to state it's contributed. The Renaissance, the Enlightenment, they're not big things. Persian philosophy is bigger than the Renaissance, the Enlightenment. Chinese philosophy is bigger than the Renaissance or the Enlightenment, and you can even look at other things. You can look at political thought in Greece, which is bigger than Renaissance Enlightenment. Why? Because the Greeks invented the republic, the form of government, the republics. It's lasted 2,000 years. That's what modern government is. It's Greek republic. It's the republic from the Greeks. That's what governments in the world do. They do the republic, and it's from Greece. It's not from Rome. It's from Greece. I think it was Plato, Aristotle who wrote the Republic, and that's our standard of government, a republic that kind of has offshoots into other things. But I think that we can advance government a bit more with government literacy. I think that would be good to have some kind of contribution towards government literacy, some kind of thought, understanding into governments, the way they behave, some kind of literacy in government, so they can perhaps advance from the point of Plato's The Republic. So I think that could be quite useful. If you look at the Republic, it's quite basic. It's simply a hall in a government with some politicians that do Republic. But if you look at what government can be in world history, it can be something quite advanced, significantly more advanced. It could be more social. It could be more People's Congress in the world. It could be a World People's Congress or a People's Congress. So it could be a public representation. It could be philosophical thought representation. So I think these governments can advance to quite a significant level beyond Plato's Republic. The fact that we're falling behind in the world because of the Plato's Republic, and the fact that we're quite slow and quite basic in our standards of organisation in society. We have basic food, clothing, accommodation, heating, basic jobs, basic utilities, and lots of other basic things. I think if we can advance government in the world, maybe through literacy and understanding in government, then we can have more of an organised world and maybe more of a developed world. We can industrialise the world. That's what we can do to build this economic capacity. I think Europe are simply industrialising the world. I think it's Europe and America, they've industrialised in the world. I think Russia is industrialising the world. But if you look at 80% of the world, I think it hasn't industrialised, and that's perhaps 80% economic development and capacity. I think if the world were to follow the example of Europe and America and Russia in industrialising their economies, it could develop world economic capacity to maybe 200% level and a very significant level, and it could create a lot of prosperity for the world. It could end up world poverty, homelessness and bad accommodation. It could solve climate change as well, but it could also create a prosperity in the world that creates healthy living conditions for the world, for most of the people in the world. So I think that could be a useful suggestion. Presidents seem to focus on climate change. I don't know why that's so much of an issue. The weather kind of resolves itself. I think it does. But I think if presidents were to look at perhaps industrialising the rest of the planet outside of Russia, Europe and America, then it could become a more economically developed world with more prosperity, more economic capacity. I think if the presidents of the world were to discuss these things in the G7 and perhaps organise it like a serious problem like climate change, if we were to address it like a serious problem of climate change, then industrialisation of the world could be quite beneficial for world history. It could develop world economic capacity to maybe 1,000%. It could create better food shops, supermarkets, better energy, perhaps nuclear energy, better transport, better flight and globalisation and exchange between people and civilizations. It could create a lot of movement, technology, and it could create friendship in the world with prosperity. So I think that's quite important, and I think that's one of my views about the world. Thank you.